With a career spanning over 2 decades, training professional athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, executives, an entrepreneur himself, and the founder of Anatomy Fitness, a state of the art facility with multiple locations around Florida, podcaster, author, and from my interactions with him, an overall just kind person, inspiring individuals to reach their full potential physically, mentally, and emotionally. Please welcome to the show none other than Mr. Marc Megna. How are you today,
Oh,
sir?
I'm doing very well. That's a heck of an introduction. Um, it's great to be here. It's great to be here. More importantly, how are you doing today? I know you're a father. Congratulations, congratulations! I'm so happy for you. It's a special feeling. How do you feel?
I feel elated. It's on another level, honestly. The hardest part of going to the gym these days is just leaving her. And I'm sure it's something you can relate as you are a father as well
Yeah,
recently.
it's a really special experience. It's hard to you know articulate it, and share that feeling, but it's. I think we can both agree it's very special and it gets better every day. So you're in for something really extraordinary and special.
I appreciate you very much for that. Mark, I want to start out by asking you something a little different because I noticed in your signature through our communications over time that you represent yourself as a body architect.
Mhm.
Can you explain to the audience what that means?
Hmm. Yeah. So a body art. There are certain we use certain titles at anatomy. So we don't have trainers at anatomy. We have body architects, and body architects at anatomy embody the anatomy way, which is a whole nother conversation. But the body architects kind of move, live at anatomy with the core values, which is do your best, be honest, work with passion, serve others, and treat everyone with respect. And that's really what makes them body architects, like knowing the body, programming, getting results, getting buy-in. Those are all par for the course. But the way the body architect carries themselves, and I think the fact that they may have a trainer may have a very high training acumen or a very high IQ. Body architects have to also have a high EQ. So that's a body architect.
What I appreciate about that is you started the conversation by establishing values. And I noticed, having been to anatomy myself, I know there's multiple locations, that there's writing on the walls representing different, what I'll call mindsets. What's the purpose behind the specific quotes that you've chosen? If it's humanly possible, I know I can do it. Why is it so important to have those reminders on the walls of your facilities?
I think those quotes are really special for all of us, and then they become anatomy. And I think that what we're trying to do each and every day. That quote was put on my wall when I was a kid from my mother, the humanly possible one, and actually, it that quote has been shared in different communities, and it was put on my wall. I didn't really know what it meant till I was maybe 16 years old. But we want everyone that walks through the doors at Anatomy to know that, you know, if you have a goal, if you have a dream, if you have an intention, if you have something that you want to accomplish, it's certainly possible, and there's a way to do it, and you can make it happen. And we want the most powerful thing in the world is hope, and we want people to understand that it's possible to transform your life and get the very best you can out of yourself while working to become a really special version of yourself. So when they see those quotes on the walls, they're just great reminders, and I think we all have come to appreciate them more and more over the years.
The other aspect that I notice about anatomy specifically is, and I could attest to this myself because I own a piece of merch, is the sleeveless hoodie that has the word culture across the chest. What does culture mean to you?
Culture to me is I always say the same type of thing when asked that question. I feel like the word culture today is a cliche, overused word, and they talk about culture. And for at least for me, and I believe the people in the anatomy close community, culture is what happens when you're not around, how we respect you when you're not around, how we talk about you when you're not around, the things that we don't say when you're not around, or the way we defend you when you're not around. That's culture to me. Um, Recently, we had one of our team members who was in a really terrible motorcycle accident. He's a really special person, and he's from our community. And like he's a team member, he's a body architect, okay, and he's in the hospital and he's really banged up. And I mean, there were more things that were done to help this young man. We started a GoFundMe, but the anatomy community in itself rallied to raise a significant amount of money to help this young man. And everyone went to the hospital. People keep going to the hospital, and they're sending him videos of encouragement, texting him, calling him, supporting his family. And it's like that's culture to me. Like, you can talk about it all day, but it's what you do in times like when someone's in need or someone needs help, or you really want to assist someone to give them a better experience. That's what culture is. And it's not just for our members, it's for our team as well. We always tell the team your mission and job is to take care of yourself, take care of each other, and then take care of the members. It trickles down.
First off, prayers up for that particular individual. I saw the GoFundMe, donated to it myself. Everyone,
Thank
please
you.
go check out Mark's page so you could see and donate to the cause
Thank you.
separately. The other element, even though you may have been asked the question before, I've never heard that answer before. And so, what I'm also curious about is I'm going to do my best to phrase this question in a way that it's not repetitive of what I just asked. But when it comes to community building, whether it be from a business perspective or a culture perspective, there's a very nostalgic and robust tone of loyalty that resonates throughout what you've established in your particular facility, in your establishment. How do you go about that effectively? If you were to replicate it, how would you recommend someone go about establishing a community and a culture from scratch?
I don't. I don't think you can build one from scratch. Meaning, the culture. We have ownership. Uh, my business partners, like we've taken everything that we've done over the years and all those experiences and everything that we know from whatever field we came from and put it together, and that is the foundation. So that foundation was formed long before anatomy was open in regards to respecting and appreciating and forming close bonds with people in the Miami community and fitness and wellness community. And half the people we hired at the beginning were people that we all had relationships with for years, and they just wanted to be a part of it, which was a huge honor. And it's building a culture in time is it's really what you do every day. For me, my role, like if I don't, if I show up at 9 a.m., or maybe some people on our team would show up at 11 a.m. I choose to show up at 4 a.m. so people can show up at 5 a.m. And I'm not saying you have to do that to have success, but it's that important to me. Like, I can't wait to get up. I'm so excited, and it means a lot to me. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a time in my life where I want to sleep to 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., but I do it because I have a love for this, and this is my life, and this is my mission. And how I behave is important. How my business partners behave is important. How we treat people is important. And we're all just trying to do our best. And we want team members who truly want to be their best, and they're there to do well in life, to grow, to do well in their field, to do well financially, but they also truly want to become something special. And that's a growth mindset. And if you're not coachable, or you're not open to being understanding and being a great teammate, it's probably not the place for you. But we're all trying to do that and establish that with our behavior each and every day. And some days are long. Whew, they're long, but they're always, there's always great lessons in there, and we learn a lot each and every day. We learn a lot from each other. We just keep pushing ahead.
Something else that we share or I identify with that you offer is the sentiment of seeing things through. Why is it so important to keep your word?
I think we all kind of have the same answer. Your word is everything. Do what you say what you mean. And if you say you're going to do something, it's super important that you follow through on it. And I think that there are people in our lives that if they say they're going to do something, they absolutely do it. There's no BSing, there's no side talking, there's no word salad. It's just, I'm going to do what I said. And, to be honest, those are the people that I want to be around. Like the people that follow through, and I don't have to check them on it. I don't have to confirm. Like they know they said it, they're going to do it. There's no problems. Like that is the foundation of everything we do. Follow through. Do what you're supposed to do. It's take care of your responsibilities. If you don't take care of your responsibilities, we're going to hold you accountable, and we want everyone to understand the meaning and the significance behind doing your part, doing your role, doing your job. And I think everyone here takes great pride in that. And I think that's one of the most special things about our community and about our team.
The other element that I just want to specifically address is yes, everyone does have, I'll agree with you, everyone does have that, type of response. But for me, what I found in my practice is that it's built my confidence. I said I'm going to do something, and yes, I'm going to do it, but it's also, I feel better because I've kept that promise to myself. And I think what also distinguishes the approach of anatomy and you specifically is that there's been this ahead of its time kind of approach, particularly when it comes to recovery. I think that having been to the facility myself and noticing that there's already this calm energy when it comes to the recovery element of the space, that the industry wasn't really on that
Right.
game yet when you guys were
Yeah.
already focused on
Yeah.
recovery practices. Why is recovery over embellished now? I kind of feel like it's been a bit saturated in recent years, with products and stuff like that. But, you know, you're putting out content now and sharing insights that you've been sharing already for a while. But why is recovery so important?
I think back in the day, recovery used to be uh, not uh, not important, not one of the most important things when you thought of fitness or wellness. I think most people, maybe 15, 20 years ago, it was, let's go beast mode, let's push it, let's really crush ourselves, let's sweat, let's, go hard. And then over time, we learned that you need to push yourself. It's important to train in a manner where you're uh, changing the training stimulus, and you're creating these adaptations that happen. But we learn that, we just had this conversation in the team meeting, you don't get strong when you train, you get strong when you recover. So if you're constantly pushing yourself, but you're not allowing yourself time in the parasympathetic, then you'll really, it's like having a cut on your finger. If you have a cut on your finger and you keep rubbing it on the ground, it's never going to heal. You need to pull it off the ground. And pulling it off the ground is recovery. And I think, body and mind, uh, we wanted to have an offering. My business partner, Chris, was really, he wanted to combine things, and credit to him because he was really thinking of that. And I thought, it was such a wonderful idea to put those things under one roof, because you'd have to go to a big box gym to get a workout, and you'd have to go to like maybe the standard to get a good recovery session. And, if we could put good training, group fitness, a great establishment for our members, combined with the great sanctuary and these healthy offerings to help someone. Look, you don't have to come in here and kill yourself today. You can go to the sanctuary, you can go in the sauna, you can go into the cold plunge. You could feel a lot better, and you could spend time in the parasympathetic and allow your body to recover. Or it's a place for you to mentally like detach from the world and just have some peace. It's such a huge benefit. And where we're all seeing the world kind of shift from that crazy training mode to appreciating actually taking care of your body and not just crushing your soul every time you come in the gym.
I'm glad you mentioned that for a couple reasons. I've noticed that there is a particular patience in your training regimen and in your training style. At least, even if the intensity remains the same, which I imagine it does, there's still a patient approach in how you walk up to the bar and how you move your hands across your chest and then down to the bar, which I don't understand what that is. I actually would like some clarity on what that is. But can you kind of talk me through, or the audience through, the elements of your training philosophy these days? Because we hear a lot about longevity and sustainability, but we still need to like go hard, but then a certain rate of perceived exertion. I'd love to get your feedback on what is your training style right now like, and how are you approaching the bar?
Understood. So I'm 47 years old, so I'm not 25 anymore. I used to, everything was an ego test each and every day. Now I try to be smarter with my approach and do things that aren't going to sacrifice my spine or my back, and I try to do things that are a little bit more forgiving. But I still lift weights. I lift weights 4 days a week. I do interval training on a Concept 2 machine, and that could be a Concept 2 bike. It's usually a rowing machine or a ski erg machine. But I'm actually in a club where we have members from all over the world who compete, and they have X number of ski erg sessions, X number of rowing sessions, X number of bike erg sessions, and you see where your times are. And I could compare myself uh, to a guy in Canada, Australia, anywhere in the world, and they're serious competitors. And it's like people talk about High Rocks or CrossFit or Spartan Race. I mean, I compete every single day with these people, and I know exactly where I stand because the computer never lies. But some of the interval sessions could be 20 rounds of 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. It could be 3 rounds of 5,000 meters, and that takes roughly 17 minutes. So 17 minutes a set, but it's a hard push. It could be, zone training, zone 1 through 5. It could be a lot of zone 2. Some of those are zone 4 and 5. They really push, but it's usually, if there are 5 rowing sessions, there are 2 zone 4 and maybe 2 to 3 zone 2. You really increase your work capacity and your ability to produce or output wattage based off your portfolio, a zone 2 practice, so to speak. So I lift weights, but I don't lift like a bodybuilder. I lift like a person who's trying to maintain strength, keep some muscle on while I'm kind of training like an endurance athlete. And I'm not a small person, so it's an interesting mix.
I'd be also a bit remiss if I didn't ask you about your nutrition. I'm sure you get this question a lot. And with all the different philosophies out there, I'm not going to ask you to make the record straight, but if you could share a bit of insight on what's worked for you.
Yeah. So I've had, I used to, I've had an interesting journey in regards to weight, body composition. When I was in high school, I was very, I was a fat young little man, and I was really bulky and fat. And then I got down in weight. Then in high school, I got up to 230 pounds. In college, I got up to 260 pounds. In the NFL, I was about 245 pounds, maybe 250. And then now I'm about 210 pounds. Uh, I probably have less body fat, but I basically have done many things. So I've been on a carb diet. I've been on a low carb diet. I've been on a carb cycling program. I've intermittent fasted. I've done a lot of different protocols, keto. I've tried it all. And what really works for me is eating healthy. I eat animal protein. I eat chicken. I eat fish. I eat steak. I've been eating a lot of steak lately. Um, and I try to reduce sugar as much as possible. Now, I do eat sugar. I just know that the less sugar I have, the better I feel, the better I look, and the better my cognitive function is. So that's really it. Do I eat carbs? Yes. You won't see me load up on a big bowl of rice. I just don't do that. Not like you shouldn't if you need the carbs, but my plan is pretty basic. I've done intermittent fasting for 6 months, and it felt amazing. The only reason I stopped doing it is because I get up really early, and sometimes I now I'm much better with my sleep. So I try to go to bed a little early, and I try to wake up a little bit later so I can get that sleep in. Um, but my nutrition is pretty basic. There's nothing I won't tell you that, hey, I don't eat that. I never touch that. I'm not a big drinker. Um, you know, I'll have a drink, but I could go 6 months without having a drink, and I don't even think twice about it because socially, I don't need a drink. I just don't. I've never been that type of person. But I could also go out and have a handful of drinks. Like it's fine. It depends where I am, who I'm with, what I'm doing, what I choose to do. If I have a big row coming up on Friday, the last thing I'm thinking about is putting that stuff in my body. I'm just not doing it because there's no way I can perform and compete in that group and put out the numbers that I want if I'm putting that in my body. I have to automatically know I cannot achieve what I want if I do that. And I have a shot if I don't. So I'm just not going to do it and see what happens.
Honestly, I love that because I also feel like the culture around alcohol is changing. That's not really the direction I'm going to take this part of the conversation, but I am glad that you touched on it. In terms of something else that stands out about your background, your credentials, is that I mentioned at the top of this in the introduction is that you're an author. What was the motivation behind the book?
It's a great question. So I always wanted to write a book just because, and I'm sure we all have similar stories, but I had a teacher in third grade told me, hey, writing is not for you. Don't ever write a book. And I was like, I just didn't like the way that sounded. So I remember writing the book and thinking her name was Mrs. Darcy, and I'll never forget it. But I said I always wanted to write a book. For me, writing a book was more like it was like a therapy exercise. My wife was at the time was my girlfriend, and she was working and she was away. She would go away on the weekends for work, and one day I sat down on like a Saturday. I worked Saturday morning, and from Saturday afternoon till like Sunday night, I did not move. I just wrote and wrote and wrote. And I think I wrote like, over 100 pages in Microsoft Word. and just typed. And that's very much not like me. I'm not a person that does something like that. But I had so much I wanted to say. It's kind of like that Jerry Maguire thing where he just writes, sits down,
Yeah, yeah.
and when I finished, I remember she walked in, and I was thinking, man, that was the most one of the most emotionally draining things I have ever done. And I felt like I kind of needed to say it to myself, and I wanted people to know the truth, about just my path and the things I wanted to share. Because one of the things that I always thought about when I was a kid is I wish people would tell me tell me the truth. Like, what do I need to do to get where I want to go? Even if it's brutal, tell me the truth. And I didn't have a lot of people like that. I had coaches, I had my mom and I had my grandfather, but I had coaches that were really, really hard on me. But it would have been nice if they said, look, if you go to practice every day and you absolutely kill yourself, you're going to get something positive out of it. And with me, it was like, I don't know. And sometimes it's hard to stay on course and become the process when you're unsure. That's why most people quit. They're like, how long do I have to do this for? I'm not doing that for this long. Like, I just kept doing it because I knew nothing else. And I'm going to stick with it. And sometimes you're the last man standing just because you refuse to give up.
What about the podcast? What was the goal when you started the podcast? And with over 100 episodes, you've interviewed everyone from professional athletes like Rob Gronkowski to multimillionaire entrepreneurs. Like, you name it, you've interviewed them. What was the motivation, and what are you trying to accomplish by hosting your podcast?
I think, I've been training for many, many years. And I remember when I started, I think I started in Miami in 2006. And we had such great conversations. Like, I'll give you an example. In the training session, it's okay, we're going to bench press. We're going to do 3 sets of 8. Then we're going to do some pull ups, and we're going to do some corrective work. But in between those sets, some of the most unbelievable conversations happen where I'm talking to a professional athlete. It doesn't have to be a professional athlete. It could be a mom. It could be anyone. And they're telling me about what they fear most. What is the hardest thing for them? Why they have such a difficult time focusing. And you're learning. It's such a crash course in human behavior. And I'm looking at a guy who's 6'5", 260 pounds, and he's telling me what he's afraid of. And it's a really profound thing to hear that this amazing athlete is actually afraid of failing. And he's scared that, like, he's not sure if he can do this again. Or the mom is afraid that they're not going to be who they need to be for their kids. And I'm just learning that people are people, and they're real, and they have feelings, and they have emotions. And you know what? I was fortunate enough to be the receiver of a lot of those conversations. And with the podcast, it was like, maybe if I could get some people on here to talk about what they think is important, it would benefit a bunch of people listening. From if I could get a pro athlete on there, a college athlete on there, an NFL coach, a college coach, and just have him talk about the tough parts of his life and how they persevere and how they push. I just thought that would really help people because it helped me. And I thought it was selfish to keep to myself.
The mission is commendable, and it's definitely something that I can relate to, especially in getting the opportunity to ask you questions. Obviously, these are things that I'm curious about, and I'm sure when you have the opportunity to pose these questions, you're also exploring that curiosity, which is what makes the
Yeah.
conversation so dynamic. So, shifting gears into entrepreneurship, what are some of the lessons that you were talking about it before, when it's like, I wish someone had just told me, no matter how brutal that truth would have been? What are some of the lessons that, if someone out there is listening and they have that same type of fear. Is there something that you would say to them right now to help them based on over 100 conversations that you've had publicly and posting your own pod and in writing your book? Is there a message that you would share to someone who's also kind of facing those fears right now to help them step into who they are?
Yeah, I mean, I always say, like, you never know until you try. I know it sounds so basic and easy, but if something's really important to you, you have to do it. You just have to. Even if you're going to fail miserably, you have to try. Um, but I always say that, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And it's really important. Like, if you want to open up a gym and you're a trainer, you might want to be really great at being a trainer. Meaning, I'm not saying being a great trainer will make you a great gym operator, not at all. But if you are not where your feet are at and you're focusing on something else, it's impossible to learn the lessons necessary to get where you need to go. Meaning, like, Jocko Willick, Jocko, right? He always talks about, if you're a great Marine Corps sniper, that doesn't mean you're going to be a great team captain. Just because you're a great shot doesn't mean you're going to be a great team captain. But if you learn all the lessons that you need to experience, to the things that are going to be so key once you step into leadership, then you actually have a shot. So if you have a goal, let's say you want to be the own a gym or you want to open up a gym. Opening up a gym, operating a gym, and having a gym are three very different things. So if you want to open up a gym, you need to understand, like, all the things and moving parts of a gym. And then it's very different to own one gym or have one gym and then to have five. Like, one is like you're in a relationship. It's me, I'm 24, I meet a young girl, she's 24, we're in a relationship together, we're dating. That's like one gym. Five gyms is kind of, we're married, we have children, we're not playing with BBs anymore, we're playing with live rounds, and this is like a really big deal. We live together, there's bills, there's kids, there's life, there's let's sleep when we can, right? It's like there's the big difference. So I think what I would tell them is that if there's something that you want to do that's important to you, learn as much as possible, and then go to work. You got to go to work. You got to. I mean, it would behoove you to go work at a place that you appreciate and respect, so you can understand how it came to fruition. We had a young man many years, well, 3 years ago. He emailed me, and I didn't mean to at first, but the email kind of passed, and then he walked into the gym and he said, "I've been emailing you and I want to do an internship here." He did an internship one summer. He was terrific. Did an internship the next summer, was terrific. Then he said he wanted to be a body architect. And we usually don't hire body architects unless they have X number of experience, but this young man was exceptional. We hired him. He's a body architect. He's doing extremely well. He will, at some point, he's already a leader, but he'll be in a leadership role, and he'll go through the steps because he wants to learn. Like, it's just in his blood. Like, it's important to him. And he knew that if he went to a community to learn something, there are so many different people to learn from, and he'd be in a place that's exactly how it's done. You kind of need to do that. I know other people who didn't start that way, and they're just really intelligent people, and they know their stuff, but there's always they're always connected to people who have been living the life, right? So they need to understand What is that life like? And then, make it the way you want to make it.
There's a question that I ask of all my guests, and now I'm going to pose it to you. If the future version of yourself is to fly in from 10 years from now and offer you some advice in order to get to that ideal spot, assuming he's there, what do you think he would say to you in order to get there?
I'd say, I think he'd say, stay on course, stay on course, do your best. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. Just because you're having a bad day, that doesn't mean you're having a bad life. You're doing the best you can. Be hard on yourself, but don't be too hard on yourself. And just know that there are a few things in life that matter more than your significant other, your family, and your mission. Everything else doesn't matter, And there's pieces of that. There's people in your life that you see every day, close friends, family, and just do the best you can. Don't be too distracted with certain emotions and bitterness and ego, and it's just leave that alone and just keep moving forward.
Marc, thank you so much for your time today. Please let the audience know where they can keep up with your
Yeah,
journey.
absolutely. Thank you for having me. This was great. You're a pro. You're a father and a podcast pro. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
So definitely check out our anatomy page on Instagram. Um, the team is incredible. We're fortunate to have great people all around, from body architects to energy experts to our detail team. And it's just a wonderful community. You can check me out at Marc Megna. That's basically, I guess it's just Instagram. The book is Dream Big, Never Quit. You can get that on Amazon. And the documentary is Just a Kid from Fall River by Randy West of Monarch Productions. And you can get Just a Kid from Fall River, the documentary, on iTunes, Amazon. It's on a lot of the platforms. The only platform it's not on is Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Till the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
one.